Hello guys, hello. Are you guys are you guys able to hear me? Can you please confirm if you guys are able to hear me? Thank you guys. Thank you so much for the confirmation. Okay, let me share the screen. And this is going to be the one. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so we will wait for a couple of minutes so that everybody can join and we can start. Thank you. I hope you guys are really excited for the session, right? So basically, what basically we are going to do is we'll just touch base on the beginners friendly kind of contents. Okay, wherein we'll be discussing about the basic and the foundational knowledge. So yeah, what I'm going to cover in this particular session is it'll be a complete beginners friendly, wherein we'll touch base the RHCSA, which is Red Hat certified system admin level. It'll be a beginner one, so we'll do both theory and practical, because hands-on is really important if you really want to master, if you really want to understand the Linux concept. So yeah, so before that, let me. Okay, can we wait for 1 minute more? Then I can probably introduce myself. Okay. Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Deepak Gurung, and I have been in the industry from the last 5 years, I would say, wherein I've worked with a different domain as a tech support, the app support engineer, or maybe a Linux support engineer. And I also have done my certifications long back, like it's like 2018 or 19. I did my RSCSA, and post that I've been doing a job into the IT company in India. Give me a minute. So yeah, so we here at Techonquer to provide you the free sessions and affordable fees, wherein maximum students can benefit from it. So here, what we do is we'll teach you things, and at the same time, we'll also learn the same things. So it's a win-win situation uh, for you as well, and for us as well. Okay, so this is the introduction about me. Now, can we start? Let me type here. Just give me a minute. Okay, okay, yeah. Let's start this session. Okay, let me see that. Okay, so since this is the first day today, and what we're going to discuss is we'll only discuss like what are the contents that we are going to uh, perform in the upcoming sessions. Okay, so the contents that I'm going to show you is, so this is the contents. Okay, so this is the syllabus, I would say, which we are going to conduct. So it's just a Linux admin syllabus overview. Okay, so wherein we will talk about the foundation and comparison between your Linux and Windows machines. So we'll understand, like, first of all, we'll understand the basic and the foundational, fundamental reason behind the OS, right? So Linux is actually an open source, multi user and multitasking OS. We'll discuss about what exactly the difference between Linux and Windows in upcoming days. Okay, but before that, this is just the overview of what we are going to discuss, and we'll also discuss about the core components of Linux, like what it has, like the kernel, shell, file system. You've got hardware, how kernel interacts with hardware, and it interacts with the software, right? So how shell comes into picture. The moment we fire command, like what happens? First of all, it goes to shell. Then from there, kernel will take the commands, and then it'll interact with the hardware, right? So these are the basic and the fundamental uh, concept that we need to build, because these are really important from the interview perspective, and also from learning perspective, because when you do this, you'll have to do a practice. You'll have to do a hands-on practice by understanding these concepts. So these topics are really important. Okay, so but before that, what we are going to do is we need to have this Linux setup, right? So what you can do is, you've got free resources, free softwares like VMware workstations, or you can also do a Oracle VirtualBox, right? In that particular software, you can build the Linux OS. That's number one, because that lab is going to help you. That's where you practice. Second, let's say if you have the account in AWS cloud or maybe Azure cloud, there also you can host the machine, and accordingly you can practice. Yeah. So this is just the setup. I think uh, there shouldn't be any problem in setting up this Linux environment like the VMware workstations. However, if you face any kind of issues or problems while setting this up, the labs and all, then we can probably, I think we have a discussion group. There you can post it, so there we'll be able to help you out. Okay. Okay, so once we have this completely, the workstation ready, then only you'll be able to move forward, right? And after that, we are going to do all hands-on lab, wherein we'll discuss about like the file system structure, right? So what exactly this slash bin, slash etc, usr, slash var, and on top of this, there's a directory called root, right? So how these file structures are configured, or how these are organized. So we are going to deep dive into each and every file system. So we'll understand like what exactly the importance of these file system. Okay, and then, yeah, just give me a minute. Let me see the chart in the meanwhile. Okay, so this is what we're going to do it. Okay, and once so first of all, we need to have a lab setup. Okay, that has to be done. Um, and once we are done with this, we are going to do this file system structures. Okay, So after that, we'll be moving to the user and file management, wherein we'll discuss about the users, right? So in Linux system, there are three types of users, I would say. So number one is the normal users, the root users. Okay. Two is, let's say, root is on the top. The second is the normal users. Third is system users. So we are going to discuss about these users. And also there are two important files which are really important to understand. That is the etc password file and the shadow file. Okay, that also we are going to explore. And once we have that, then we'll do a hands-on, like adding, deleting, or modifying users, or creating groups in user management section. And also at the same time, in the file management, we'll try to see, we'll try to create directories, we'll try to create files, we'll try to see like what happens when you create a file, right? So I'm gonna share my experience, whole experience into it, so you don't have to worry about it. And the most important part is VI, because the moment I learned, for the first time when I started learning Linux, I had this issue of tackling with VI. So for new users, or for the freshers for the first time who is learning this Linux, okay, they'll have difficulties uh, exploring this VI, because you just open a file into VI and you just write down some contents, and if you have to save that, there's an option like WQ and exclamation mark. So that becomes a bit of confusing at the in the first place. You will struggle a lot in that case. But slowly and slowly, if you start doing it on a regular basis, then definitely you'll also come to know about this particular mystery. So this is what we are going to explore, and I think for the new learners, it's really going to be a challenging, but also it'll be a lot more fun and exciting. Okay, so once we have these user management, we are going to discuss about the file permissions, right? This is really important because when you do when you start working in the company, let's say you're hired, as a L1 engineer, and in the company, and these file permissions are really important, because you might get a question, or you might get a ticket saying that you need to, just give me a minute. uh, just give me a minute, guys. Okay. Okay, so I was discussing about, give me a minute. Yeah, the file permission and process basic, right? So in the file permissions, we are going to explore all the possible options, all the possible concept that we have in the file permissions category. So we'll discuss each and everything in file permissions, okay? And then you've got, a couple of groups, like primary groups, secondary groups, and the owner and others. So we really need to understand these concepts first, and then as and when we start doing the hands-on, then you'll have a better understanding of how it works and how it is done. The reason why I'm focusing on these particular section is these are really important, and you need to have a good hands on these topics. So once we're done with this, then we'll move on to the process management. Again, uh, like in Windows, you do a task manager, right? So there, if you just click there, right click task manager, you find a lots and lots of process, right? So that's exactly how you check in Linux. We're going to explore that. Okay, so we're going to check that. We are going to see how to kill the process, and also how to prioritize the process. There's a concept called nice and re-nice, concept, wherein we'll keep the process as per the priority set. uh, the tools, like ps command is there, you've got a top command, These are the tools by the help of which we can probably see the process status. Okay. Um, I would have started on the lab right now, but no worries. I'll just try to show this in upcoming sessions with the fully lab. Uh, Today we'll just discuss about syllabus, like what things needs to be covered here, and then later on, the coming weeks, we are going to explore directly into the system. Then we'll touch base on this system monitoring and networking. So we'll be discussing a little bit about like how we do CPU, how do you check the CPU usage, the memory and the disk usage, right? So there are lots and lots of commands that you need to explore. So we are going to discuss that. And in the basic networking, so we'll just try to see like how we configure the networks. Okay, our basic IP configuration, the ping command, the netstrat, because these are the basic things. And since this course is first of all of a beginners friendly, I would say a freshers friendly, right? So we are going to cover these basic things first, and then later on, as in when you guys gets a good hands on, then we'll move on to the advanced part also. So once we have this, this disk and storage management is really important concept. Without knowing this, I think this actually carries a good weightage. If you have a very good understanding on this topic from now, then going forward when you start your career, right? So you won't face such kind of problems. You'll have a good understanding of this. So this is what you call is the mounting. Okay, we'll talk about partitions, like what is partitions, right? So how we do the partitions of the disk, and then once we have that partitions, we need to format that. Like in Windows, you've got the other format, right? Like FAT32, and then it came to NTFS right now. But in Linux, how it is happen, we are going to discuss that. Like just to give you an example, like earlier there used to be ext3, then ext4, right? And now it's XFS. So these are the file system partitions that is available in the Linux. That's how we do the partitions, right? So once we do the partitions on a particular disk, now you're ready to use that disk and store data. But you got to mount that. Okay, so again, for mounting, you'll have to create a directory, and with that directory you have to mount that file system, and after that you will be able to use that file system. So these thorough practicals we are going to see. We're going to do a practicals on these. Okay, so once we have the partitions, so let's say you've got a partitions, you have created a slash data partitions, right? And then you came to know that your partitions is getting full. Now how are you gonna manage that particular partitions? So for that purpose, you need to understand this volume group, right? So there's a VG concept and the LV concept in Linux, which we are going to deep dive into it, and we'll see each and every part. Like to create a LVM, what you need to do is first of all you need to create a partitions, and partitions maybe two or more disks forms two or more disks. When you do a partitions, you combine that into a VG, which is volume group. And once we have that volume group, then you can also put that into a LV. So these concept like resizing means increasing the LVM and decreasing the LVM, right? So these concepts we are going to discuss, and we'll also see the hands-on. Then after that, this should have been in the beginning only, but yeah. So we're going to see like how we securely log in, right? So there's a concept called SSH, which we are going to discuss. Again, there are two things, like whether it's a key based or the remote access based, right? So these things also we are going to discuss. And And in the last, what we are going to discuss about is we'll also see this sort of Samba, right? We'll touch base on like how we create the Samba files, Samba servers. So we'll discuss this also. And I think, yeah, so there's a NFS concept which is not mentioned. So we'll also cover that. We'll create an NFS server, NFS server and client, and we'll see like how we can mount a particular share or particular directory, and it can be used by the number of servers, a number of clients, I would say, which are connected with that particular NFS server. So that we're going to see it. Okay, let me see the chat. Okay, just give me a minute. Do we have in chat? Just give me a second, guys. Okay, let me start with the other one. Sure, we will say that. Don't worry about that. Nature and history. Okay. So this is all about the syllabus that I was talking about. So these are the main contents that we are going to discuss about. Yeah. On top of it, we'll also discuss a couple of more topics, which is not here mentioned here, but yeah, we will discuss about that. Okay. So okay. So once okay, let's just have a brief day one introduction. Okay. It won't be that lengthy. We'll just try to cover like what is there in day one. Okay, it'll be a complete theory. I know you guys are getting bored because I also don't like theory classes, but uh, initial days it's just a boring day. I know, but as in when you start learning it, you start doing the hands-on practice or the lab practice, then things will come into place. Okay, so let me share the other screen. Yeah, so this is the one that will quickly uh, finish this. Okay, so now first of all, before this, let me try to make you understand like, okay, we just talk about Linux, but what exactly is Linux, right? So why do you learn Linux? What are the benefits of learning Linux? Because without knowing these concepts, if you start learning, if you start blindly following, I think that don't make sense. So what you can do is, before learning any kind of technology, right, so you need to have a good thorough research first, and then accordingly you can create that interest or that passion to learn about that technology, right? So that's what the motto should be. So I'll just deep dive like why we learn Linux, what are the benefits of learning Linux, right? Windows was there already, but why we learn Linux? So those concepts, I think it's really important to cover those areas. So I'm just going to talk about this. Although I've just got small slides, but I'll just make sure that you guys understand fully, and then we'll discuss about why this is really important to learn for now. Okay. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so let me talk about these two slides first, and then we'll deep dive into it. Now, why should I learn Linux, right? Just have a quick chat. Can you guys tell me like why we should learn Linux? If you just quickly, give us the hints so that I can probably deep dive. Okay, I don't see any chat. Okay, let me see that. Okay, so why we should learn Linux is we should learn Linux because it offers many advantages, right? Depending on your interests. Again, here interest is what matters. If you have that passion to learn, then I think learning any kind of technology will not be an issue for anybody. So learning this Linux is really, purely depends on your interests. Number one. Number two is what kind of career you'd like to move on. Okay, and what are the career goals that you have, right? So depending on these, you have to decide like whether I should be learning Linux or not. But I would just tell you like what are the benefits of learning Linux. Number one benefits is you can see that the market demand, right? So many many IT job roles, right? You could see that having Linux knowledge is always the upper hand. So nowadays, what's happening is your system admin tasks or the IT tasks are moving into a DevOps side, and these for any engineers or any students who wants to become a DevOps engineer in future must know the Linux basics. So you can't skip Linux. So it's really important that understanding and learning about Linux is the core strength of any engineers uh, in the market right now. Okay, so it's market demand. So that is the reason we should learn Linux. Number two, you can see server admin, right? So everywhere, like Windows, you could see that for many desktop side, you could see this Windows. But when it comes to enterprise level server management, the Linux has got a good strength. So it dominates the market, right? Everywhere you can see. So powering a significant portion of the web servers, like also in the cloud infra and enterprise that I mentioned, is where Linux is used. So this is the reason. Okay. Number three is it's a security, right? So it's secure and robust OS, not like Windows. Okay, so the features that we have in Linux are, the SC Linux. You've got Firewall D, and you've got PAMD. So these are the authentication method: uh, PAMD, SC Linux. So because of these features, security features, okay, so we should learn Linux. And third is you could see that the developers tool, right? So nowadays in I mean every company when the developers write code, so they need an environment like a similar environment, right? So many developers are developing environment and tools they are natively supported on Linux. So this I could make you understand like you've got the other tools like the other DevOps tools like Git, right? There also we need Linux. So I would say it's at the developers tools. So that is the reason we should learn this. And third is the capability and cloud services. Like you can see that Linux is widely used in the cloud computing environment also. And if you get the good hands-on and if you're well familiar with Linux for now, then in future when you join the company, there you'll have upper hand. You'll get benefits. Okay. The other reason is the diverse distribution. So Linux comes with many distributions. I think one of the viewers has asked about which Linux should we learn for the cybersecurity. So Kali Linux is what I would prefer. Yeah, Kali or Parrot. Yeah. So again, I think I've also used once when I was doing my practical. So I had used Parrot. Parrot is lightweight OS as compared to Kali. So people do prefer Parrot. Okay, okay. Okay, so as I said, that diverse distribution, right? So it comes with many flavors. Um, if I have to say, then the different flavors names are Ubuntu, you've got Red Hat, you've got Fedora, SUSE, and also the Unix sections. You've got the AIX, HVUX. Those are the proprietary OS, okay, and these are the free-based open source OS. And of course, it's a cost effective, so it's free to use. So this is what I mean. These are the reasons why we should learn Linux. Now, if you just talk about, let me see that. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, guys. Just give me a minute, guys. In Iniku. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's talk about a brief introduction of this particular sessions. Okay, let me see that. Okay, so Linux is actually open source OS, which is based on the Unix architecture, right? And it is widely used everywhere in each and every enterprise. And this is mostly recognized for the flexibility and robustness. The core of Linux is the kernel, right? So kernel is the master behind the whole operating system because it helps to coordinate with your hardware, right? So it manages both the hardware resources, and it also includes the additional software which provides user interface and tools. So as I said, unlike proprietary system like HVUX, AIX, it is open source that allows anyone to view, modify, and distribute its code. Okay, even when you start learning Linux, then if you get a good hands-on and if you get a good concept, then you can also create your own OS with the help of this particular open source code. I mean, you can explore it if you can. Before that, let's see the history of Linux. Like Linux, like not Linux but Unix. Okay, initially Unix was started in 1968 in AT&T Bell Labs. Then what happened was it was the source code was taken from it, and it makes the open source, right? So Linux kernel is what was discovered by Linus Torvalds. He's the man behind creating this Linux kernel in 1991, and it gave it to as a it gave it as a free project. So from there on, it started. So for the GNU project, the Richard Stallman's it's a free software foundation. Okay, GNU is a free software foundation, And this Linus Torvald, he contributed, or he hand over or give this project to GNU for the open source. Now, as I already talked about the distribution of Linux, like I've talked about Ubuntu, Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat. You've got Kali, even your Android phone, right? All are based on Linux OS. Now, if you talk about the use cases and package managers, then you can see this as a desktop, Ubuntu desktop, right? Ubuntu machine. You've got servers, and for the package management, again, it has a different options or different system. Like for if you're learning about Ubuntu, then there the management is done through apt. Apt is a command, and if you're going with the flavors like Red Hat, CentOS, I think CentOS is deprecated by now. If you go about Red Hat, then you have the package management tool called Yum. But now again, mostly the DNF is what the new version of the OS is using. So in new version of OS, until RHEL 7, there was like Yum, but from I think 8, you can use DNF. So Yum and DNF both we can use in 8. Now, if you talk about the architecture, so like as I said, the kernel is the important component, right? Kernel is the master behind the whole OS. So this is the core component that manages both the hardware and the system resources. And there's a shell, right? So it is a user interface. The moment you type command, let's say you type ls command, then how this goes to shell, and then it gets interact with the kernel. So that whole process we're going to learn about. And after that, of course, the file system, as I already mentioned, that how we're going to discuss about the file system, right? So we will deep dive into this file system in the upcoming chapters. So this is where, as I said, we organize the data, because you can't blindly put the data, right? So in case of Windows also, you've got C drive. Under C drive, you have your all system important files. But let's say if you want to create D drive, right? So that particular D drive or E drive, we got to format that. And once you format it, then only you'll be able to keep the data. Likewise, in Linux, file system understanding file system is really important. So you have to format the file system, and then once you format it, then only you'll be able to put data. Um, Many of the cases, what we found is user and kernel space. I think this one is really important to understand this topic. So we're going to deep dive into this also. So it is actually nothing but a separation between your user application and core. So you have your Docker, I mean, upcoming chapters, although it'll be a bit advanced, but after Linux, when you start Docker, then again a new technology. There, the concept of user and kernel spaces matters. So understanding this concept right now will really give you a edge when you learn the other technology like Docker. Now, let us discuss about the features of Linux, right? So I said it's a multitasking and multi-user. So it supports the running multiple processes and users simultaneously. So let's say you have a Linux server, then multiple user can log into that particular server. So that's what the multi-user is. And on that particular machines, we can also do a multitasking. So one of the users is doing some activity, and the other users are doing some other activities, right? So that's how this OS is multitasking and multi-user. Second is portability, since it runs on the diverse platform, right, from servers to embedded devices. So it is easily portable. The minimum configuration that it requires is, uh, I think, 2 GB of memory, and not more than 20 GB of hard disk. So with that also you can host or you can boot your Linux machine and you can start practicing it. Third is of course the security and stability, right? It is not something like Windows system wherein the multiple restart happens. So it is a robust protection mechanism, and you can rely on this particular device system. So these security and stability features is what Linux provides. And of course, the last one is the open source ecosystem, right? So this is the open source, freely used. So just give me a minute. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions right now. I'm on the sessions. Okay, so I'll answer the questions in next 5 minutes. Now, so these are the features, and these are actually the theory part that you must know, because in an interview they might ask questions, right? So you need to have these understanding at least, because these from the interview perspective, these questions are going to ask. But for the hands-on, or for doing for the task purpose, you've got different things. So now this CLI command line. Okay, so there are three types of shell in the Linux, which we are going to discuss, and the mostly we will be working on Bash. Okay, but these are the different shells that we see in the Linux. So we hardly use these cells. No, we don't use these cells. What we really use is Bash shell, and it's just short, like the commands, common commands. But we are going to deep dive more about all those important commands that we need to know or we need to understand. So ls commands, cd, pwd, these are the basic commands that you must know. And one thing for the fresher who is learning Linux for the first time, you'll have hard time to understand first. I mean, I don't want to scare you, but yeah, but this is what I had faced in my initial career. So to jump on from one directory to the other directory. Okay, there's a concept called relative and absolute path. So if you do not understand those concepts, then I think uh, you might face such kind of problems like me. So when I was new, I also used to do this. But then later on, after doing lots and lots of practice, I figured out that okay, this is how we navigate to a particular path. And then later on, got a good grip, and now I'm well versed with these commands and well versed with these concepts. So initially you'll have problems, but as and when you practice it, then I'm sure you guys are going to do it. Then we also talk about the tab completion piping. There's an important concept called piping. So why we do piping? Okay, so these things we are going to do it on a lab, the full hands-on. Then, as I said, the Linux file system is what I was talking about. We are going to discuss about like what are the file systems present in the Linux, right? So slash home, we've got slash home. There's a spelling mistake out here. Okay, you've got etc. You've got slash usr. You've got var. We'll try to understand all these key concept, all these file system, because understanding these file system is really important. All right, and Linux users and permissions. So as I mentioned that there are three types of users, right? So first is super user, which is called root. And the second is the regular users. So those are the normal users. And third is the system users. We'll deep dive into this. We'll see the example like how we can see these users and where we can use these users. Okay. And after that, we'll also see the file permissions and ownership. Like file ownership, like you've got command called chmod, chown. Okay, we'll deep dive and I'll show you practically like how these commands are used and how this is done. Okay, then you've got chgrp when you have to change the group. So we need to have these command, and there's of course the execute permissions. Okay, so we are going to discuss all about this hands-on. Then this is just Linux versus Windows introduction, right? So Linux and Windows, they are the two major OS, with distinct architectures and philosophies. This is what we're going to deep dive later on. So if you have to see the market comparison, as I said, Windows basically, dominates the desktop markets, while Linux is prevalent in the servers and the specialized use cases, right? So in the enterprise world, so you can see Linux is widely used. So this is just the target audiences. Like Windows targets the general consumers, while Linux they mostly targets to the developers, the enterprises, and enthusiasts. Now the file system differences. I think this, as I already mentioned about the file system, right? So in the Windows, like there used to be exfat and FAT32, NTFS. I'm not really familiar with the Windows file system uh, because I'm from the Linux background, so I can tell you about the Linux one. So in the Linux also, you know, I started learning from ext3 and ext4 and now XFS. So we're going to see like how we do a partitions. Okay, first of all we do a partitions, and then on that partitions we'll have to format that partitions with either ext34 or XFS. XFS is the latest one. Okay, and also when we create partitions, what are the partitions we're going to create, right? So that we're going to discuss. Then we'll discuss about Linux and Windows, what exactly the key differences. So it'll be a fundamental part right now. Okay, we'll cover the command line and GUI. Even Linux has GUI, but when you install Linux into your the virtual machines box into your laptop or maybe any desktop, try installing the command line one, because the GUI of Linux will consume more and more space, more utilization. Okay, so we'll discuss about all these security models and stability, and finally this command line versus graphical user interface. As I said, Linux is mostly focused on the command line and scripting capabilities, but Windows is mostly a GUI, right? Okay, let me see the chat. Beginners. Okay, guys, just give me 5 minutes. Let me see the chat because I've not gone through your chat sections. Just give me a minute. Okay, okay, just give me a minute. Okay, let me read from here. Cyber Sentry, yeah. How many days of this course? Um, yeah, probably 8 weeks. Okay, as mentioned. And also for the beginners, which one OS is better Kali from? Okay, I think this I've answered. Uh, I'm point of view for server usage. This I didn't get you. Essential for tech careers. Yeah, yes, this is important. Chris Kisanjai. More tools in market demand. Yes, true. Cyber century, nature and history, and market demand in tech industry. Yes, this is true. Kisan again, mainly open source. Yes, unknown, sir. Okay. Cybersecurity में इसका important है ना. Of course, I think it's really important to understand Linux basic, Linux and Windows. If you really want to make your career into a cybersecurity. Kali beginners friendly. I'm really not sure about this because Kali and Parrot, these are the Linux which are mostly used by these cybersecurity personnel. So I really can't comment on this. Sir, Black Ark. Raji, I didn't get this. What is Black Ark? Black Ark Linux. Okay, okay, maybe. I'll try to say this. Defender security. Okay, yeah, this is. Okay, guys, now you can ask your. Okay, let me wind up. I think at time. What's time right now? I'll quickly wind up this day one session. Okay, and then we're going to share this PPT to you guys. So yeah, so for the scripting and automation also, this is really important because when you learn Linux, you can easily write or you can easily learn scripting, right? Says what is automation? I mean, the manual tasks that you do, if you just write a script and that, you know, you can run this script and complete your manual tasks in within a second. So that's how we do automation. Now, for the software management approaches, Windows software installation, I think just you'll have options. You'll do a click, right? So they use primarily .exe and MSI installer along with the Microsoft Store for software distribution. And this approach is a bit user friendly because you get everything out there, right? So you just have to click this, that. That's the reason Windows learning Windows is a bit easy and it's user friendly. But when it comes to Linux, you have to understand like how these package managements are done, right? So let's say if you have to make sure that your Linux server has got the package management running, right? So you need to have a good understanding of how this apt, DNF, or yum works. So that you'll have to understand if you really want to master into a Linux package management. Because what happens is when you install one software, right? It it asks for the dependencies in Linux. So such kind of problem we used to face in my career. I mean, I used to face such kind of issues in my career. I started installing one application, and that particular application, particular software or package in Linux, we call it package, is pointing to a different package which is actually not there. So you got to fix that dependency issues. So this is the reason why yum came into picture. Like first of all, there used to be a RPM. RPM will simply install your package, right? But it has some dependencies issues. It'll say that to install this you have to get that particular package first. So hence the yum come into picture because when you do a yum, it'll itself fix the dependencies. And now it's a DNF, so we'll discuss more about more DNF and yum. So understanding Linux package managers is like you have to have a good understanding of how this apt, if you're Ubuntu users, and how this the DNF or yum actually works. So you need to have a good understanding of this, and these are really important from the for the future career perspective also, because in system admin level you need to have these understanding. But for now, just try to understand like how it is worked, okay, and try to get the commands. Like you need to have a thorough understanding of the commands, and then as and when you explore it, you will come to know. Then of course the security models compared. So in the Linux, you said that it's file permissions and ownership, as I already mentioned. And SC Linux is really important, right? It's mandatory access control. So that we're going to see like how we apply SC Linux. And there are also IP tables for the firewall management. And from the Windows perspective, if you have to see it, you've got AD, right? So AD for the user management. Then you've got the user account control for the privilege escalations, and the Windows Defender for the malware protection. So these are the security models that you could see in the Windows. But in Linux, we are going to deep dive each and every sections in Linux. Um, I'm just giving you the overview so that you'll have a good understanding of how the security models works in both the OS. Will not be a deep dive, will not be touch base on any Windows security models, wherein, however, on the other hand, yeah, we'll discuss about Linux one. Then there's a vulnerability handling. So both the systems provides the regular updates and patching, right? So those patches. So I think Windows, you need to just check for the Windows updates. It's I think pretty simple. But in Linux also, you have to see that. Then performance and stability. Like Linux is a lightweight and optimized for the servers environment, as I said. That requires fewer reboots or offering high stability, which I already discussed about this. However, Windows it prioritizes on the user friendliness, but it tends to consume more resources, right? And may require more frequent restart. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, what the question? MMD7. Okay, what's the user PAMD? So we'll discuss about this because this is used when you have to when you go when you learn about the user management, right? So there we use this. I had this similar issue when I was working with one of the companies. We had this PAM issue. So what happened was the even the root user was not able to perform one of the tasks. And I was just doing a testing and I found that because of some configuration issues under this PAMD directory, there's an auth file, there's a couple of files which is present in the PAMD auth directory. Okay, so I just did some testing and I found that there was some misconfiguration on this particular directory. After doing that, I was able to perform the task. So this issue I had faced that. Okay, Hindi. Okay, okay. Yeah, we can. I mean, I can do that, but Hindi. Okay, sure. I'll discuss this with team, and then we can probably roll out. Yeah, both the language. Okay, so now let's finish this first. Okay, we've got only 2 pages. Then once we're done with this, we'll just take 5 or 10 minutes of the Q&A, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Okay. Now, where to use Linux? Of course, server management, the server environment, right? It's preferred for the servers due to its stability, the security, the robustness, and also the resource efficiency. And who mostly use it? Like many developers and administrators, right? So it's a powerful CLI and scripting capabilities, which makes Linux ideal for developers and system admin. And of course, it's open source, so users can add values the customization and transparencies often choose Linux. Now, when to use Linux? Sorry, Windows. So mostly for the desktop environment. It is widely used for the personal computers due to its friendly GUI and also extensive software compatibility. And also the casual users, I would say, like its ease of use makes it suitable for everyday tasks and non-technical users, right? So and from the enterprise integrations, they integrate well with the enterprise tools like AD and Microsoft Office. Okay, I hope I think the session was really interesting today. So again, the summary and coexistence, like again, it's based on the person to person needs. uh, Choose to use Linux or Windows. Okay, so this is the end of the day one session today. Going forward from the upcoming sessions, we are going to do a deep dive into a practical. So we'll straightway jump into the practical, uh, wherein we'll deep dive right from the file structure. Okay, I'm going to take some questions now. If you guys have any questions, please post that. I'm gonna wait. Well, MMD, the next session will be on Saturday, coming Saturday, because I'm hosting this on Saturday and Sunday. So if there's a timing, if there's a changing in timings, then I'll definitely share this to the team, and team will roll out the information. Any question, guys, before we wind up the session? I do not see any questions. Shall we wind up? Okay, then we'll end the session for today. We'll see on next Saturday and Sunday. Okay, we'll have a complete hands-on going forward. I know today's was a bit boring because it's all related to theory and all. So don't worry, guys. Keep joining. Come join and learn. Okay. With this, we'll end the sessions. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys will have a lovely day, and we'll see you on coming Saturday. Thank you. Bye bye.